to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're at Colorado Anime Fest here in Denver, Colorado with
Joel McDonald.
So, just in case our studio audience isn't aware of who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
I've been a voice director for a little over the past 11 years. Most of it was at Funimation. I just left Funimation about a month ago and have started as the new VO coordinator at Gearbox Software.
So, how did you get hired at Gearbox Software?
I applied.
Magic.
I know, right? Most artistic people are kind of known for always wanting to kind of branch out and do new things. And, I never set out to get involved in voiceover, but it became part of the many, many different things that I wanted to learn about. And, so I've always been about storytelling, and so theater was my first love, but I've always wanted to push myself to learn, not only theater, but film and commercial and voiceover for, television, radio, whatever, and video games. And I've done some video game work in the past. I've played a couple characters in Borderlands and Tales of Zelda and some others, and I've always really enjoyed it. But I was at Funimation for about 11 years, and I wanted to do something else. And so I saw a job posting and got my name in the hat and started talking with them about what I could bring to the table. And so far we're kind of still figuring out what the position is and everything. Mostly all voiceover comes through me, either for games or for promotional materials and trailers and stuff like that. But I'm also going to be helping out in a lot of other ways, and we're trying to figure out what those are. But so far I've gotten to work with the narrative team, working on stories for some different games, and I may also be doing some light stage combat direction for motion capture, and I'm just really excited about it. It's a fun, creative job, and it's a great group of people.
So 11 years with Funimation?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So what do you do to combat, I guess you could say, career fatigue?
That's an excellent question, and I have no idea. Because anime is a very niche industry. Not only does it require people that are really good at their jobs, but it requires people to do those jobs very quickly. And increasingly so as Funimation and other broadcast companies or dubbing companies have started to get involved in broadcast dubs, which are much faster paced than the DVD releases that we're used to, but it's also giving the content to the consumer even faster. So that while something is currently popular, you can listen to not only the Japanese but also the dub, and it's great. When I first started as a contract director, we would work really hard, really fast, make a great product, make sure everything was great, and then if we had any downtime, then we could run auditions and other kind of stuff like that. Well, with the pace of things right now, downtime is a neat idea. It doesn't happen a lot, and unfortunately, a lot of people are kind of getting burnt out. But those that really, everyone really cares about the industry and cares about making a great product. It's just go, and you'll be able to take your vacation days and your sick days and stuff like that. You got to make sure you can kind of put those in a place that they're going to give you the most benefit, where you can really kind of relax and take a deep breath and then jump right back into it. It's great. It's a fun industry. It's a lot of creative people and a lot of really, really fun shows to work on. But yeah, as it goes faster and faster, people are having to be a little bit more aware of their mental health and kind of their stress levels and things like that, just to make sure that you don't push yourself too hard. But yeah, it's a niche industry, and so the only way it makes money is if it's faster, more, better, good, without sacrificing quality. And Funimation's great about hiring people that are able to work as quickly as they need to, without letting the quality drop.
So what do you suggest people do for grounding or getting rid of that stress at work, stress work?
I think it's really important to have something that you enjoy doing that is not at all work related. Something that you can because I worked in a lot of different areas of voiceover. So for periods of time, I would be writing, directing, and doing a lot of voice acting. And so I was constantly staring at flaps, and mentally it was stressful. But it had to get done, and I was lucky to have had all the opportunities to do that work. But during times like that, it became much more important what I did with my downtime. Whenever I'd go home, I want to spend time with my wife and my kid, but another thing that I do is I used to be a carpenter. I was a scenic carpenter for a while, and I built sets for plays for 5 or so years professionally, and several years before that. So I started building again, and so I would take scrap lumber. My brother-in-law would get pallets of materials shipped to the business that he runs, and I would go over there and bust up the pallets to get to free lumber and take them back and make an end table, or just whatever. I just finished building a cabinet height little pantry sort of thing for my wife. I'm moving on to next I'm going to make a dining room table with a leaf in it, so it goes from seating for 8 to 12. And then after that, I'm going to make a shuffleboard using bottle caps. Like I'm always kind of trying to think of something that I can do that's not only fun and functional but creative as well. And that's kind of how I unwind, is get into the garage and cutting up some lumber and making some mistakes and learning some new curse words and throwing hammers, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's like carpentry. It was good enough for Jesus, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, going back to theater work, when did you start in theater work or know that you wanted to work with theater?
Almost immediately. I was the kid in kindergarten that like every other kid had like a profession they wanted to be when they grew up, and I wanted to be whoever said the last thing. I wanted to be that. And so I eventually kind of figured out, I was like, if I'm an actor, I can just pretend to be all these things, and I don't have to learn anything, which is great. Like being an astronaut sounds awesome, but there's a lot of math and science. So I'll just audition for the part and pretend I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no, I started doing theater when I was 7 years old, and get to do a class production like most people kind of get started in, and the bug bit me, and I never ever walked away from it after that. Well, until recently. Theater is awesome. It's my favorite form of entertainment. It really is. It always has been, but it pays the least. And so having a family and having other responsibilities makes it really difficult for me to be on stage. But that's where I fell in love, and so I started doing school theater and church theater, and then once I found out there was a community theater, mostly for kids in my area, started auditioning there, and I decided in high school, that's what I wanted to do when I got into college and beyond, and so I worked with my director in high school, Miss Marilyn Miller, who kind of shaped my career in a lot of different ways. I love her to death. She passed away several years ago, but she got me into the school that I went to. I went to St. Houston State University. Continued learning to act and direct there, and then after I got out of that, I got into a national children's theater tour, so I got to spend the next year traveling the country doing theater, and then when I got back, I got into hanging lights, doing rigging work, set construction, anything that I could do to keep close to the industry. So even if I wasn't acting, I still wanted to be doing something. So yeah, I mean, I'm one of the very few people that I know that was lucky enough to know exactly what they wanted to be from a very early age, and I never changed my mind. So that's the only reason that I've got more experience than a lot of people my age, because I got started very young and I never quit. And I'm definitely not, by any stretch the most experienced person my age, but it's rare that someone finds out, picks their career when they're 7, and spends the rest of their life working at it. So I've been very lucky. That was my first kind of luck, was just knowing what I wanted to do, and then I've been lucky all throughout, and I've worked really hard, and I'm not done yet. So I teach acting classes, but I also take acting classes. I'm always trying to figure out a way to grow and develop and learn a new skill and learn a different way to communicate a story to someone and make them feel something. And yeah.
So was your family generally supportive of the theater?
Very much.
They're like, oh, we want him to be a doctor.
No. They knew I was dumb. My mom was actually a drama major when she was in college, but I didn't know that until I was a drama major when I was in college, because she didn't want to influence me. So she decided that it wasn't for her, and she got into education, and now she works with therapy animals and grief counseling and stuff like that. She's brilliant. And my dad works with computers, payroll systems, and whatever. But he's also a Sunday school teacher, and he got several degrees in theology. So what they taught me, both of them, was that always invest in education. It's something that they can't take away from you. It's the only thing they can. So everything else in the world the government can come for, but if you know something more than other people, then that's always going to be a benefit for you. Especially in an age where everyone has magical smartphones and can just look up the answer. Like if you're the one who knows it, and everyone's power goes out, you're ahead. And so they really kind of taught me to throw yourself into what you love. And so they might not have. My dad, I think, a little bit more so, kind of didn't really understand me when I was starting to get into those things. It just was never part of his world. But he and my mom, they loved me like crazy. They knew it was the only thing that was making me happy, and so they helped facilitate what makes me happy today. So yeah, they get it. They don't get anime. I've tried to show them some stuff, and they're like, "We're just glad you're working," but this is not for me.
It's like this kind of goes against all the stuff we learned in apologetics.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
it's like, well, this is Devil Man thing? No, maybe not.
But they've always been great, and every time I've wanted to try something, that they've always been there. When I was doing theater competitions and speech competitions when I was in high school, both of them would be waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to drive me to the school, to get on the bus, to travel to another city to compete. Even though they didn't necessarily get it, but they were putting in the time and effort that they didn't have to, just so that I could do what I wanted to do. It was great.
So how would you say is the best way to balance the time between working all these stressful hours and stuff, and then spending time with your family? Which I also found out, like checking online, it's expanding.
It is. I've got another kiddo coming along in mid-June, and my son Beck just turned 2 on the 16th, so just a week or so ago. And no, we're really excited. We've got another boy coming, and I think that might be it.
Congratulations.
We'll see. Thanks.
Oh no, you need to get like 2 more, so you can name them like Mongolian Chop Squad.
Yeah, that's true. And that was the first anime I ever saw. I didn't name him after the anime. Actually, the name I really wanted.
Is it after Jeff Beck or something?
Yeah, no, I told my mom it's after Glenn Beck. She got really excited about that. But no, actually, the name that I had originally.
No, it's not Rush.
I mean, honestly, what I did tell my wife was like, I want a short 1-syllable verb name, because my family were short dudes, and so like we need to have an intimidating, powerful sounding name. So I wanted like cash or chase or rush, like something that was a verb that was active. And actually, what I really wanted was wreck, R-E-C-K, because it was badass. But we both agreed that was a little too weird, so we went back which I like.
You'd be amazed how many weird names there are. In one of my professions, I deal with, like, you see all sorts of weird names. Like I saw someone the other day with the name Princess Diane was their first name. I was like, oh goodness.
Oh wow, yeah, no, that's special.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. No, and yeah, it's really, I mean, as I've grown up and as I've moved into different parts of my career, priorities change. Like there used to be a value in being poor and being the starving artist, and like I'm out there doing it. Like I don't have to. I'm not in it for money. I'm in it for art. Yeah, and like and that was great when I was in my 20s, but like chicks don't dig that. Like you don't pick up girls in bars being like I'm an actor. They're like, oh, well, you're poor. So as my priorities changed and as my career developed and everything, things kind of fall into different places. But my main thing now is that everything I do not only for my own development but for my family's development. So I've actually found myself recently in a position where I'm actually turning down work because I don't want to take what little time I have away from my family. We just dropped my kid off with my parents to watch him for the time that we're up here, and I haven't seen him in a few days, and it's crazy. I've never wanted to hang out with a 2-year-old before, but I miss him like crazy. And so yeah, I work as hard as I can when I can, and I spend as much time with my family as I can when I can.
So, what do you think so far about Colorado and Colorado Anime Fest?
Oh man, I've been having a great time. Colorado, I went to Colorado when I was a kid, and I haven't really been back since. We spent some time in Estes Park and the Shining Museum or the hotel and all that. But this is the first time I've been around here, and it's been amazing. Everybody's been really nice. The weather's been great. We get to spend some time at the Denver Art Museum, which was phenomenal. Actually, we only went. My wife and I went yesterday. She went back this morning because there were a lot of floors we didn't get to. But yeah, and I love the size of this convention is great. This size convention is one of my favorites because it's busy and there's always something going on, but like it's small enough that where you can learn people's names and spend time with them. And like if you don't necessarily have like a whole full room for a panel, then it's like, hey, cool, I'm just gonna sit on the edge of the stage and we're gonna get to know each other. And I love that. Like it's lower pressure and you really kind of get to feel that convention love that people come for. I love it.
Yeah, it's not too overcrowded and such.
No, it's been great.
So you feel there's kind of a good energy around the convention.
And really, this one in particular, yes, but like conventions in general, I love the energy of, because like, and I was telling my wife, I was like, we would be lucky if our kid got into anime. I was like, it definitely wasn't something she grew up with. Like, she did grow up watching Dragon Ball, but like she was never a convention goer. But it's such a loving, warm, tolerant, understanding environment where like. A lot of people that come to these things aren't the popular ones at school, which school's stupid and it totally gets better for everyone all the time. But if you can get through that, like you're gonna make it. But like these people have gotten together because they love stories and they love anime and they love video games and they love these characters and they love the music and they love all these things. So they found something to love together and they show up and they share that fandom and it's so inviting and warm and no one's an outcast and no one's made fun of except for like maybe the Homestuck kids.
They were the Inuyasha before they were into Inuyasha and Showbiz before that.
Sure. And I love them too. It's the Italian fans you gotta watch out for.
Oh no,
crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
But no, I love it.
Excellent. Speaking of that energy in there, one thing I do notice about with these conventions is there is that high pitch energy, that
Sure.
just wonderful love and acceptance, that safe environment there, that wonderful energy. But when the convention ends, I've noticed that a lot of people, they have that high level of energy, but when they get out, it just drops right down.
Sure.
Do you have any tips for how people can take that energy that they love here, that they have here, and somehow spread that into their daily lives at work or at school or whatnot?
You know, I don't know.
Keep that going.
I don't know if it's much of a tip or a trick, but it's kind of the idea of keeping the Christmas spirit in your heart all year round. Which is what every Christmas movie is about. And for me, like I go on a camping trip twice a year with a bunch of my friends, and it's every May and December, and it's been going on for a long time, and we're always bringing in new guys and hanging out, and it's just beer and horseshoes and a fire, and everybody has a blast, and I do that not necessarily every 6 months, even though the trip happens every 6 months with or without me, but I do it whenever I can, and I know it's always going to be there for me when I need it. And so I think people ought to treat conventions the same way. Like, we're all flying high once we leave here. Like, we felt understood, we have felt loved, we were among our own people, but now it's time to get back into the real world. But bring that energy with you. Know that you are loved. Know that the people in the world that you generally interact with don't understand you on a level that your convention friends do, and that's okay. A lot of being an adult or being a human is kind of trying to figure out how to make who you are fit into what is, and so I think as long as you know that there's a group of people that will accept you whenever and wherever, there's always going to be another convention coming up, maybe not the one next door, but somewhere. And when you need that break, when you need to remind yourself that there's more to life than punching a clock and going to school and going to work and all the stuff that kind of gets everybody down, there's a group of people, even if you're not with them, know that there's a group of people right now getting together that would love it if you were there. And feeling accepted doesn't have to end when the convention does.
So just kind of like remember that there is still a time to heal.
Yeah.
There's time to look forward to that.
Absolutely, yeah. And the real world kind of breaks everybody down in its own way, and that's just kind of what it's for. But yeah, it's I mean, like you were talking about, like finding that work-life balance and making sure that you have time to spend with your family and your friends and the stories that make you happy. So yeah, as long as you kind of carve out some you time, that helps you decompress and reset yourself after you've kind of spent a lot of social capital and gotten really stressed by being out there, that there's always going to be an in here, and it's always waiting.
Well, now to a more lighter question.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw a real softball at you right here. So, my first anime was The Flying House.
Okay.
What was your first anime?
It was Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. It really was. And when I first went to sort of the Funimation, I told one of my bosses, and I was like, please don't fire me because of this, but I actually have no anime experience whatsoever. Like, I had been around anime, but I'd never sat down and watched it. And so, like, I had a girlfriend that was really into Akira, and I had a friend in college who used to throw Ninja Scroll on at parties. And I knew a guy in high school that was like, he would go and spend all his money on VHS tapes of what was at that point called Japanimation. And so, like, I knew of it, but I had very little experience with it. And so, so when I first started at Funimation, they hired me not because I was an anime fan, but because I was an actor and director. But I told them, I was like, I don't understand the medium well enough to be able to do it effectively. So please show me something that will show me what anime is. And my boss gave me Beck. And so I sat down and I had a couple days off. I was going to watch it over the course of a week. I blasted through that in less than 48 hours, and I still get those damn songs stuck in my head. Like, it really stuck with me. But what I loved about it was that, yes, it was animated, but it was not a cartoon. And people do, I think, get a little too up in arms about the whole it's anime, it's not a cartoon kind of thing. Some anime are cartoons. Like, come on, One Piece, dude, get over yourself. Like, I don't care where it was made. Like, it's what a cartoon was and is and continues to be. I don't care where it's produced. But so I'd never seen anything like that it had comic moments, but it was dark. It was real. It was about kids and what kids go through and trying to find a place to fit in. And I had never met Greg Ayres. I don't think at that point I'd met Marina Palencia. And I may have met Eric Vale and a couple of the others in the cast, but I didn't. Even those that I knew, like, I never associated them with the character because it was so new to me. And, like, I wasn't even thinking, like, oh, that guy's actually this short dude named Greg Ayres, and he's got these cool glasses, and he's a DJ, and he's awesome. Like, I didn't even connect them because it was so fresh. And And yeah, and I love the music, and I love the characters, and I loved that it got dark, and it let kids get dark, you know, and like, because, you know, being a kid's not easy. And I love the realness of it, and that's what drew me to theater and storytelling in general, is telling something that's true. And I loved it, and I started to realize that, like, my little bumps into anime did not give me a good, accurate idea of what the genre was, or what the medium was, and that it can be anything. So someone who says, I don't watch, or I don't like anime, is like someone who says, I don't like movies. Like, that's stupid. There are movies you like, there are movies you don't like. If you say you don't like anime, it's just because you haven't found the series that rocks your world yet. But it's out there, because, like, you know, you might be, like, better than Pokemon or Sailor Moon, but, like, you're not better than Space Dandy and Cowboy Bebop. You're not better than, like, some of these, like, real, like, you're going to find something that hits you where it hurts and where you love it, you know? And so I think the people that don't allow themselves to get into it because they think it's nerdy, they're missing out. And the people that are comfortable enough with themselves to like what they like, that's fun. And that's what these things are about.
So before we get going, is there anything else that you'd like to go ahead and speaking of liking what you like, is there anything you'd like to go ahead and promote, or anything that you're working on that you'd like to go ahead and early on promote or something? You know?
Yeah, no, there's not.
Nothing?
No, I will say the last thing that I got to work on that I can talk about is Sentai Filmworks has been releasing is going to release the 3 new Initial D movies. And so I got to reprise my role as Takumi Fujiwara and Initial D. So did a lot of the Funimation cast. I got some new people and new voices as well, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think I even heard they're going to be doing some screenings on the big screen, you know, kind of select theaters around the country. So I think that'll be really cool. But everything else that I'm working on, I can't tell you.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, they're not going to do a tricked out version of it this time, are they?
I don't know.
Yeah, Tokyo Pop edited it up into like...
Couldn't tell you. I went in and did the talkies.
Well, yeah, so if there's nothing else, actually, before we get going, where can people find you online?
The 2 main places to find me online are on Twitter. My handle is God dang it, I hate this. It's
at God dang it, I hate this.
It really is. I gotta change this. It's great when you look at it.
What do your parents think of that?
So it's the @ symbol, and then the rest is letters and numbers. At, yes, 2 ats. The 2 is the number 2. I swear I thought it was really funny. It's not. It's just not.
Well, at least people know it's authentically you. Because Twitter is really bad about verifying voice actors.
Yeah, no, that's true. I have not been verified, and I have no interest in being verified. I get to say stupid stuff and pretend it wasn't me. But yeah, so that's where I am on Twitter. I spend a lot more time on that than I should. And my Instagram is OKJoelOK. All spelled out. OKAYJO. That one sucks too. So yeah, OKJoelOK. So yeah, find me. I'm on Facebook technically, but I hate it so much. I have nothing to do with Cambridge Analytica. I have no craps about that. I just hate it. So anyway, that's me.
Well, thank you very much for the interview. This has been Philip. I've been your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouse, here at Colorado Anime Fest 2018 with
Joel McDonald.
And until the next episode comes out, you are now caught up.